just unfortunate that everyone else is not so good.
That's a good way of doing it, if I'm
Yeah.
downplaying it a little bit.
Well, I am going through this probably about as good as anyone will be able to go through it.
Yeah.
My wife pulled public records on it, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about 3 different types of angles. The viewpoint from public records, which you've experienced at your last place. The viewpoint from an insurance point of view. So I'll give you a little coaching on like what you may want to expect or need to know in the event that you're moving forward and everything's going in the right direction.
Okay.
All right. Now the first thing I'll start with is the roof. The shingles themselves look pretty good. They look really good for their age. I'm guessing that they're 1998, and here's the only reason why. Looking at them from afar, the type of shingle that is used looks like one that would have been installed in the late 90s. Second, the roof permit that we did locate was from 1998. The only negative on the roof that I can see is through the Public Records Department is they didn't close the permit. It was never final. What that means, well, it's not like there's several different ways to look at this, and it's important to understand them all.
Okay, good.
The first way is the roof shingles, if they were installed during the hurricanes, for example, versus 98, it would be very difficult to tell the age because in that short window, there's not a lot of wear and tear sometimes that goes on, so it's hard to make the distinction without some sort of public record. So I'm relying on those public records as a year. So I'm going to say 1998, and I'm going to say they're in really good condition because they are. However, when you move forward for insurance purposes, if they ask you for a wind mitigation report, for example, I wouldn't be able to get you credit on the roof if it were done some other time and it did apply because I couldn't prove the year. I need to be able to prove the year and the code that it was put onto. And I have no idea. I can just say, yes, it looks good for a roof that is approximately 14, 15 years old. Right? So that's a good thing. On the flip side, as a homeowner, I did find what seems to be a small roof leak at the back corner. That's what, when you poked your head up there, that's what I was doing for that length of time, was trying to figure out where is this coming from. It's not a huge leak, you don't see it on insulation, but you see it on the roof deck. So that prompted me to use a moisture meter, which I carry with me always, and we've had recent rain. So we were fortunate there. And it's not super wet, but it is wet. So water seems to have gotten in. And I went back up on the roof the second time, and I see there's about 4 loose shingles over there. I don't know if that's what the cause is, because I don't see any penetrations. But I suppose with a little bit of wind and the right amount of rain, that it can get in underneath and penetrate maybe a nail penetration, which might be happening. So my recommendation would be have a roofer come out and look at it and just make the repairs. I don't expect this to be a major repair. I expect this to be something simple. I think it'll probably take about a half hour to figure out where it's coming from for him. A lot of times these guys will use a hose, and they might do it in tandem, 2 people, one with the hose and one down, and then say, oh, I got it, this is where it is. Other people will do proactive, preventive type of thing as a one-man show. They'll go up there and they'll tar down loose shingles, look for any penetrations, and do all the maintenance from the top. And they'll probably guess, and it'd be a good guess if they did that it would stop the leak. Because there's no blatant, obvious place. All right? So from a point of view of a homeowner, that's the worst of it. Loose shingles around the drip edge areas, minor damage, stuff like that, we're going to put that all on a list. That's kind of minor repairs. From an insurance perspective, I think a 4-point inspection, if they ask you for that, I think that will go rather well because the roof might be 14, 15 years old, whatever the year is, 98, I'm going to speculate again, but I'm going to say that that's got at least 5 years left on it. So that's a good thing. Most roofs that are about that age probably don't have that amount of life left on it. I think these shingles are in good condition. I have a hard time battling with myself wondering if it was replaced after Hurricane Charlie. But then my thought process is, well, if it was installed in 1998, Hurricane Charlie was just a short time after. It wasn't that long.
04.
Yeah. So you figure that's 6 years old. It's not
6.
likely at 6 years old that the roof got destroyed and replaced. It's more likely that it went through those storms
Yeah.
and did a good job, and still what you have today is the shingles are in good shape.
Go back to the permit thing.
Permit thing is really simple. And I can guess what may have happened, and this is just my point of view. There's a plumbing vent above the master bathroom that sticks up at this back corner. The plumbing vent is about an inch from the roof line. I know that they're supposed to be 6 inches from the roof line as a general rule. So if someone came out to inspect it, it may have failed because of that. And the thing is, I'm not a code inspector, but I know it well enough. Here's the funny thing about it. You know the reason why they have to be 6 inches above the roof line? Snow.
Snow.
So that snow can't block your plumbing vent
Right,
from
okay.
gases getting out.
Mm.
So here in Florida, we have a really unique way of adapting things that we pay attention to. But anyway, what I think you could do is if it comes down to it, if you wanted to final it, you probably have to do some modification there. And I don't think it would be that big of a deal. It's a PVC vent. You could probably cut it and glue another piece on and then put the flashing back. I really don't think it's
And
that important.
then we ask permitting to come back, or code to come back and re-inspect. Because here's the thing, and I know you know a little bit, that I had several issues with the condo and permits and such. Well, the other day, we had to go over there because something came up on the title report about it, what did they call it? An open permit or expired permit.
Yep.
And we went down there, and they told me I would have to reapply with plans and all this nonsense for this stuff that had nothing, it was from '04, because it had not been closed. I don't want to have to go through all that. Like,
Oh, and it's something that the HOA was going to.
yeah, well, it wasn't, it didn't even, it was an HOA issue, but the point is, if it wasn't closed, at some point, I might have to go through.
You may have to look at it, but it's different in this situation because when you have something that's 1998 and it's more towards the end of its life than the beginning of it, in other words, the roof, you're going to end up replacing it at some point anyway, say in the next 5 to 7 years, just hypothetically. If that's the case, you can just go about that process. Now, closing the permit doesn't gain you any benefit, in my opinion, in the year 1998. In most of the conversations I have with people about permitting when it comes to roofs is because of the wind mitigation report for insurance. We want to be able to get them a discount if the roof is put on after 2002. If it's put on before 2002, it's not relevant to the insurance part of it. So I don't know who is going to come after you for an open permit on a roof. I would implore you to go
But
ahead and
I
explore
buy and
it.
sell houses every year, so next year when I want to sell this house, I might.
Okay. That's a valid point.
Oh no, please.
That's a valid
Okay,
point. But
I
here's,
get you though. I
here's-
understand now.
Here's some good news. The good news is that the county usually saves the information for who did the work. So if you have the contractor that did the work, and we've been successful with this on several occasions, the roof is usually the better one of the things to not have a permit for with it. Because if you can get in touch with the original contractor, they may be able to close it out for you.
Pause.